Clap. Nice, synced. Sweet, we are rolling. Thank you, gents, firstly, for coming out. Thank you, Monarchs, for hosting us in your studio. Monarchs. This is very casual. I don't have anything prepared. I just feel like you guys have a really interesting story, and for me, I think that it's really helpful for people to just kind of see how these paths emerge and how you guys have gone about things. Do you mind giving us a little quick intro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sibiya. For those of you that don't know, co-founder of PropIn.
And I'm Nero Baloy, also co-founder of PropIn.
What is PropIn, bro?
PropIn is actually, it's a lot of things. I always find it tough to, it's like an ever-evolving answer to that question, because why it started, the dream of how it started, and the initial thoughts behind it changed, keeps on evolving. But essentially, it's a real estate luxury brand to the core, and how we sort of visualize that is through YouTube, exploring and showcasing luxury homes.
I heard you say, I don't know, I might have read it, I might have heard you say it, that for you, something like Top Billing, when you were younger, something you watched that gave you a lot of inspiration. Is that part of what started the idea?
Yeah, definitely. Top Billing was definitely a feeder. I think the years of watching it as a kid, you watching these beautiful homes, and as a kid, automatically it's a sparking that curiosity of what do these people do for a living? How can I get to these houses? How can I see these houses? So that was definitely a form of inspiration for the channel. But I'd say the thing that sparked the most influence for the channel was the way the Americans do these home shows, the way the UK, New Zealand, Australian channels. There's so many different channels on YouTube that do something similar to what we do. So I'd say our channel is more based on overseas influence.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I could definitely say the same. But in terms of, because I feel like the question is more catered or more focused towards the real inspiration behind why we started doing that to begin with.
Why you guys?
Yeah, exactly. So we both have some sort of background within property, right? But on an individual basis, we were both quite interested in how some of these properties got showcased, right? So there was the Top Billing thing, and then there's also other sort of YouTube platforms which do the same thing, and grand designs and whatnot. So for us, we're always very interested in the actual architecture itself, the interior design itself, so all the processes that came in before you actually see the final product. That's what actually got us super involved within that. And then I think the easiest place was to start with finished products and go into that. So that's why
work backwards from there.
Exactly. That's why it's kind of hard to define what PropIn is. It's that's what we're doing now. Okay. But it is, if you just say a luxury property brand, that kind of sums it up quite neatly. But there's so many other subsectors within that.
Makes sense, bro. I think it's really, really interesting what you guys are doing, because you've kind of built this platform, right, with, last time I checked, 40K subscribers, something like that.
Yeah, 47. Yeah.
Shout out.
You need that 7, man.
Yeah, dude. And that's I didn't check that long ago, this is, but anyway, what's interesting for me is you've built this platform, and like you said, it's a luxury property company.
Yeah.
Where you've built the platform where you're showcasing these properties, but from there's so many avenues that I see for you guys to pursue. Was that, did you have a grand idea of what you wanted, or was it something that you just took kind of first couple steps and it presented itself? How did that evolve?
So I think initially when I look at how we started, the day we started, the initial actions, it wasn't any grand plan or anything like that. It was honestly it was COVID. We had 3 weeks, varsity had shut down during that 3-week period, so we had nothing to do. People were learning how to cook banana bread, people were doing yoga, indoor workouts, so we had nothing to do really. So it gave us a lot of time to think about things, whatever. But one day we honestly just said, you know what, we're always watching this type of content, let's just do it ourselves. Let's go to these cool places and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
You were in Cape Town at the time, right?
We were in Cape Town, staying in the same apartment.
Students,
varsity, that whole UCT lifestyle. And then one day we woke up, cleaned up the apartment, picked up Neil's phone at the time.
Yeah.
He followed me around on his phone, and we literally took it so seriously.
Yeah.
Because it was something, it involved so many things that we were passionate about. Like Neil said, design, architecture, interior designing. So we were just having fun. It was a passion.
Yeah.
So there was no big plan.
I really love that story, bro, because I think that was one of the first questions I asked you when you met. Like, what was the first property you did? And you were like, no, like my apartment.
Yeah.
And obviously I never saw your apartment, but tell me, like, was it a crazy apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows?
No,
Wasn't,
no.
right? So,
No,
like, the
yeah.
property was less than perfect, but
Yeah.
you said you took it seriously.
Yeah, it was at least enough for us as well to inspire some sort of vision with what we can do with it. So we enjoyed our space. I think what made the apartment something we could start with already is because we loved our space, because we took care of it. And it was an
Seriously,
unfurnished apartment that we furnished ourselves. So already we kind of had that head start of it. At least we know what's there.
Like your fingerprint on the space.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're already proud of it. Like, it's, the reason why I think that question is like, or that story is so interesting is because I see so many people, like just general people, like people that I talk to, friends, whatever, and everyone has these ideas
Yeah.
and these grand ideas, right? And the first step is kind of the hardest in some sense, right? Because like, are you serious? You're gonna take a video of your own apartment? Like, it's not cool, right? Obviously, like everyone has to start somewhere, but it's not glamorous. It's not cool. Like, doing that first step is hard, and it's admirable that you guys did that while taking it seriously. And if you see what it's evolved into now, like, how long has it been since you started the YouTube page?
Just
YouTube
over
channel?
2 years, eh?
Just
Yeah.
over 2 years, dude. So from your own apartment to literally being the South African brand, because I mean, I don't know of anyone else I see a lot of other people that are doing it, but I don't see anyone that's built a brand like you guys have.
Yeah, it's
And to
crazy.
do that in
bro.
2 years,
It's like while you're saying that, I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking it's just insane, and I think looking back at it, there's so many nuggets there in terms of starting. A lot of people do have ideas. A lot of people keep talking about it. A lot of people wait for those ideal situations,
Exactly.
that ideal environment, that perfect day, the perfect equipment. You know, I always joke about having an Apple Watch so I can gym properly. You know,
yeah,
you know.
100%.
But if you're not gonna just start, which is tough,
Yeah.
if you're not gonna just start, and you're never gonna do it by the time you even get the equipment.
100%.
Yeah.
And one thing which I learned, which has taught me a lot of things, is put yourself in a situation where you can't back out. So a thing that we did is subscribe to Premiere Pro. So we had to edit.
Yeah.
Buy a software, put your money into it. Now you have to do something.
Yeah.
Go start the gym memberships, put your money there. Now you have to show up. So it's a good way to strategy to start something.
That makes a lot of sense, bro. And obviously, like, you guys held each other accountable to some degree as well.
Yeah.
Like, how important do you think it is? Because I think some people also, you know, will have partnerships where no one's really doing anything either, you know, and it's this like fun idea where we have meetings and strategize and nothing ever happens, and you make this plan and like nothing ever evolves. Like, how did you guys keep each other accountable to that? Does it happen naturally, just like because you're mates and you have the same vision, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I think that one's actually quite a difficult one, because the nuances of it only start to come in when we start to have shared responsibility that involves clients. I think before we started having it as a business, it was quite a lot easier to kind of spread the load of responsibility and do what, because it still was that passion project, right? So there was an element of play in it. So we just hoying the whole time. So it's like, whatever we're going to do, only once we start adding certain structures of, okay, this is a deliverable now. And then, but from then on, we're also able to motivate each other, because we do kind of have it as like a learning curve for us as well, because we have a grand vision of where we want to take things, and that also kind of helps us hold ourselves accountable, right? So, because even for us, beyond what we're doing within this PropIn, it's more also like of a really personal development journey, where we're trying to see us push to our individual best, because we then know when we're there, automatically everything comes up to to where it's supposed to be. You know, like this, there were times where Sibiya can do something I can't, and then automatically I'll start to learn from him because of how well he does it or how much effort I see him put into it. So there's also that element as well where we kind of inspire each other to kind of pull our weight, you know. But from the more difficult or the more complicated it gets, where we both don't know what we're doing, that's when we've started to learn, okay, bro, we need to sit down and actually decide what we're going to do here. We make a mistake, come back, sit down and kind of review how can we take this forward from here. And also always also remembering why we're doing this, you know. So
why are you doing it?
Well,
I know that's a deep question,
yeah.
but like, is it a freedom thing? Is it?
Yeah, there's a combination of things, right? So the freedom element is a big one in terms of us being, like you say, there's so many avenues we could have taken to kind of see this vision out, right? But the biggest thing I could say is to actually inspire other people the same way we were inspired by all the mediums and platforms that we were exposed to, right? There's various things that I could say kind of stayed on my mind. Like I could name so many things, like you've seen the local project, you've seen like there's like grand designs. These things are also things that I would be watching and engaging with my family. So I'm also quite zealous about things that I actually care about, right? I don't have too many facets that I look into, but the things that I really care about, I'm very zealous. I'll try to put you on, for lack of a better word. So that means I really try my best to go and learn as much as I can in a very organic way, where the whole point of it for me is to really understand it, and then I go play by myself to kind of recreate it. And that's kind of how I like engage in that creative process. So from that, I've seen, before I see certain things or know of certain things, I don't know that they're possible. So I don't get the opportunity to go and try those things, you know. And that, you can imagine, that idea spans across various aspects, right? So going into like the luxury property space, besides it being a desirable space to be within because of how unattainable it would be, the whole point of it is, once you're exposed to that, one, you kind of see
what's possible,
yeah. Right? And we also try to bring in as much information as possible, besides just showing you as much information as possible, which is what Sibiya's job ends up becoming. He learns as much as he can, what sort of how to explain it. I'll do the best I can sort of how to show it. But from then on, once you start to understand certain things, it becomes more real to you as well. So then you start to get, oh, okay, so this is what happens, this is what happens. Then you think, oh, okay, maybe I could actually do this. Maybe actually recreate this in my own space, right? And then once you also have that drive within you, you also, as someone who's viewing what we do, you also kind of go into that process of being like, okay, let me learn more about this. And once you're learning, that's when you kind of break out of the shell of, nah, that's just out of my league, or I can never do this. So that's kind of the whole point. It's like we're trying to enable people to do their own thing as well. Yeah.
That's cool, bro. You mentioned like in parallel to this whole thing that you're building, like the personal development journey.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like for you guys?
That's also a deep question, because there's a lot of things. There's the ideal person that you, or the dream man that you're trying to become, you know. So this becomes a tool, or a sort of something that you can use to get there, to challenge yourself to get there.
It's also like a feedback loop, right? Because you can measure results. You have something to measure your development against. Like the work that I'm doing, I get these results.
Yeah.
You can kind of track that improvement.
It's like you start something, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the thing is, but you start something and you take it upon yourself to grow that thing.
Yeah.
And through doing that, there's so many different things that you learn on the journey to become the best possible version of yourself. And there's so many things that you learn that you don't know that you need to learn through this journey. And always we keep it evolving. Small things such as learning how to communicate better, learning how to speak better in videos. No one's going to buy anything from you if you can't communicate your product. So getting towards
that's sales ultimately, right? Like we did, the previous podcast was on sales, and a point that I made was the way I see sales is just the ability to communicate the idea that you have in a way that the person will take in to be able to get a result ultimately, right?
Yeah.
So for you, and you guys obviously have very different skill sets because you have very different roles within the business. Like, how does your skill set complement one another?
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Because obviously, if someone tells you come through, you have a podcast, you start thinking about questions, right?
Yeah.
What's this guy gonna ask?
What
me?
he's gonna ask. So I started thinking about a lot of things, and I realized we actually vary. The reason why we work is because we're so different from a personal level. I'm more reserved. Neil's more outgoing. He's more of a extrovert than I am. He's more of a creative, where I'm more of a executor.
Sure, more in the details.
More in the details, getting it done. He's more in crafting the vision. I'm more in driving. He can give us the map to go through the scenic route. I'd be driving.
Makes sense, bro. And I think like some people are fortunate enough where they have that balance of traits within them.
Yeah.
I'm not that person, right? Like, and I don't think there's many people who are like that. But for me, I also think of myself as something between creative and sort of implementing. But I have no technical, like you saw me trying to set this up. Like I have no technical understanding, and for me, like Brad, my co-founder, he's also like not very technical, but we have like different skill sets that complement one another in that like he's a little less agreeable than I am. So that's situations will come up where I'm like, can you sort this out? Like something like that. And you mentioned that you guys are different on a personal level, but you obviously see the world the same way.
Yes.
Right? So you can be different but have the same mission. Like,
Yeah.
have you guys always had the same kind of idea of what you want out of life?
Yeah, I actually think really could, right? Because I think the simple one could be as well, like in high school, which is also where we met. We both kind of like did similar sports. Like there was like some variation there. Both did rugby, and then we both did like the same.
Both
exact.
played rugby, but definitely different positions.
Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, like I was the hooker, he was the scrum off. But besides that, I think so. Even that, you could see that we both had like a passion for rugby, right? Some sort of passion, but for him,
the way that played out is different.
The way that played out was very different. For me, I'm thinking I want to get the ball, I want to run, I want to do this. So in as much as he wants to do that, he also wants to track people, wants to, and also maybe he's thinking more of from a leadership point of view. I'm thinking more of doing something that's going to kind of disrupt everything, and then from then on, so we still had like different approaches to the same goal, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Right. And then even in school, like I was saying, the exact same subjects that we went through, right? And so even from then you could see, okay, there's some similarities in terms of what we actually do like, right? But I think the part that I see it the most in is because a lot of time when we converse, like on a daily basis, the thing that we always throw around back and forth are false hypotheticals, right? So in those times, that's kind of where we see our differences and our tolerances, right?
What do you mean false hypotheticals?
Anyway, a lot of time the topics are very arbitrary, right? But one of the things I really love, right, is cars, right? And anyone who really knows me well will know I love cars. Like all my boys, like I said, remember I'm passionate about something, I'll show you so much about cars that you'll know.
You're trying to put everyone on. That's
exactly.
What you meant. Okay,
like if you spend enough time with me, you'll hear a car and you'll know what the car is.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't care about cars before, now you know it's like, I know that's a Huracan because it's a V10.
I'm like the same with hobbies, bro.
Yeah.
Like I already try to put you onto jiu-jitsu now. Like,
yeah, literally. Exactly.
Like, come, let's go free diving, boys. Like, this, I have the same kind of thing, but my interests are a little bit more broad. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, so literally, so in those hypotheticals, I kind of measure out, right? So every single time we put ourselves in a situation, like, okay, cool. Maybe we're like 5-car garage, for example. You're living in this space, context. Let's just say 5-car garage. You in Cape Town in the middle of the city.
10 minutes past.
Oh. You're in Cape Town, middle of the city, and you're living in an apartment, right? What would you choose? And in those moments, we always have different answers, right? Mm-hmm. And in those answers, we're always trying to find out why you chose this, why you chose that, and then we kind of play out why for you practically this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And in those ways, we start to kind of understand, oh, okay, so this is your approach to this. This is
also helps you figure out what you want, right?
Yes.
Because the options are limitless in some sense.
Yeah. And in that as well, so then it kind of comes back to the business as well, right? So whenever we are approaching situations, we kind of already know the default that we're going to go to in terms of who's going to be approaching what and who's going to be taking the buck, I guess you could say, for certain things that I know perhaps his temperament is a lot more suited towards this and he can lead this, and he already knows. So by the time that happens, like, none of us panic, because then I'll know that he's backing me and I know the reasons why he's backing me, and vice versa. So it's kind of in those ways where we understand our similarities, but in those similarities we always try to find a way to see what makes us different, and then that
makes sense.
The process. Yeah.
Makes sense. Like, do you guys feel like you can, and I mean, you're obviously going to say yes, because like, but
yeah,
you guys feel like you can trust one another to like handle something, right? If you have to be like, Sibiya, can you sort that out? Like, that task is no longer part of, like, it's no longer taking up bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's out of your thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you guys don't have to, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you guys don't have to chase up on one another. Like, accountability is one thing, but
yeah,
I imagine you have a very similar work ethic and a very similar like prioritization.
Yeah, it's actually, before going to that, it's actually underrated, because I've listened to a lot of people starting businesses, and they always speak about not starting a business with a friend or family member. It's like
It's
a
an
common
interesting
thing.
narrative, yeah.
And our experience is slightly different when starting a business with a friend which you absolutely trust and believe in, and you know this is not a temporary thing, this is a forever thing, and you share that goal. It's the best thing ever, because you know every single problem, you're not fighting the person, but you're fighting the problem together.
Because you guys know where you stand with one another.
You know this is not going to be just for now, this is forever, so we need to deal with this problem, because eventually forever will come.
Yeah.
And this problem needs to get sorted.
Yeah.
We're in this together no matter what, so we got to handle it together, and that helps just contextualize all the problems and challenges that we have.
Makes sense.
So we never fight symptoms, even though sometimes it could be like the knee-jerk reaction, especially when there's like pressure, when like perhaps we're behind time and then like I'm dropping the ball or he's dropping the ball, or like in those situations we'll deal with the situation there and there, but then
It's
we'll
not
always
about, it's not about your character.
Yes,
It's about
exactly.
what happened.
Like about what happened, but as well, if let's just say it's something recurring, that's when we go back, because from the get-go we've known each other for so long that we would see when something's consistent and it suddenly falls off. It's like, if I know, for you now, I already know, someone who's into gym and training and enjoying a sauna.
Do my arms look big, bro?
If like all of a sudden, right, I just find out you have been going to the gym, you've been skipping the sauna, all you want to do is chill and have some Krispy Kreme. That already is a
Like,
problem.
you know,
Yeah. So before getting on your ass about you not showing up at the gym, or outside of that, more importantly, I'll be kind of interrogating what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, because I know it's not about you just showing up. You need to show up to keep it going, but this is about the longevity of it.
100%.
So that's what we kind
And
of tackle.
you're also not going to assume like, oh, Sibiya's just a lazy,
Yeah.
he's just lazy, that's how he is. Like, you'll
Yeah.
never make that assumption. You'll be like, what's up?
Yeah.
You know?
Also, there's a track record. I think that's also that what comes with us trusting each other. There's a track record of us having done everything, or having been the type of person to be able to complete certain things. So I think that also does come with the pros of doing certain, or having a business within a friendship, right? Because there's a track record of having seen him do certain things and have the grit and overcoming certain challenges, right? So whenever I'm seeing him falling short, for me, I know this is an anomaly more than it is something where
100%.
it's permanent. Yeah.
I was going to ask, or maybe just to expand on that, like I have like worked with many friends before, and like sometimes it is difficult because you don't know which dynamic comes first. But myself and Brad, again, to bring it back to like our business and the fact that we are both co-founders who are also friends, like I feel like the fact that we always conduct ourselves well, like I know that I don't have to like go to the banking app and check like, is everything there? Or like, did he pay the right amount? Like, I just know I can take it for granted that, he's going to do the right thing, and he can take for granted that I'm going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So for me, if that's the premise that everyone's working off of and that is true, I don't see why you can't do business within a friendship,
Yeah.
and why you can't do business with friends. Like, I think maybe people say that because, like, you know, if things go wrong, you lose the friendship and the business. Like, fair enough, but as like young men, maybe specifically,
Yeah.
if you can't trust someone in business, like, where can you actually trust them, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I don't really like that whole idea, because if the friendship is deep enough and the person is trustworthy, it'll work.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
it doesn't work, you put the things aside and you're like, this is not working. Still love you, bro. Cool.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I don't know where that really comes from. Sounds like a bit of an old school idea.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that you guys like prove it wrong. Just like, again, I wanted to like dig a little deeper on the personal development thing, because obviously this whole brand is, you know, aligned with that.
Yeah.
What other metrics do you use for, like, am I improving? Because the brand is one thing, it's very measurable, but I know it's not the only thing you guys value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else do you track? What else do you measure, even if it's just in your head?
Yeah, I'd say it's weird how the brand has become us. So it's detaching ourselves from the brand would be very tough, because we
Especially you, because you're the front, like, you're in front of the camera, and again, obviously,
yeah,
I
for
know,
for sure,
just
for sure.
as an example, the
For
fact
sure,
that,
and like I think everything in which, because we put our all into this brand, you know, so, and it comes with different aspects. And I was speaking about the speaking part, which is a big thing for me personally, but even the editing part, the other additional businesses that we're building around it, those are the things that that's how we gauge how well we're doing on a personal level, because we know if personally we're improving, we know the business will improve.
Yeah.
It sort of goes together,
Got
you know.
Got you.
It's because just how in touch we are with the business. It's our everything, bro. So I know if the business is improving, we probably
So
doing
it's-
something good.
So if the business is improving, it's almost assumed that you are waking up on time, you're going to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Literally.
Like, the feedback loop is there.
Yeah.
So
Because if we are doing all those things, then I'd assume that the business will improve as well.
Yeah. And I think it also, because we are a small team of two still at the moment now, there's not much we delegate. So if we aren't doing what we need to do, it'll be clear, right, with the results from the business, because
there's nowhere to hide.
there's nowhere to hide. So the business ends up almost becoming a reflection to ourselves as well, right?
Which is really nice, dude. Like, we'll let it run like a little bit longer. For me, I'm very grateful that I use work because, you know, whatever. Like, I work in a space where my work is directly tied to results.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything more depressing than, like, showing up every day, hustling, regardless of the results I get, my pay is the same.
Yeah.
That would be soul destroying for me.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
it's nice that you guys have that short feedback loop where, you know, what was the results, like, what's the quality of this video, like,
Yeah.
I think that's something that is kind of underrated, you know, of having those results that you can show, and you can kind of base how you feel in some sense on those results that you're getting. And I don't really know where I'm going with that, but I feel like it's just, you know, expanding on that. What's next for you guys?
A lot, man. A lot. The way in which we view things and the way we've always viewed things are these big goals.
Yeah.
And it's always, we're grateful for where we are, you know, we'll never take that for granted, but it's always, when people say, oh, wow, you guys have a big channel, you guys are like doing so well, I always say thank you, but we realize
What are you comparing it to? Like, it's big compared to what?
yeah, like where we looking to take things is, we still feel like we gotta put in the work. We're still not where we need to be as individuals, as a company.
Yeah.
But we are planning. The channel obviously keeps on growing. The properties keep getting better, and for us, it's to.
I don't see how it gets better from where you guys
It's
are.
very
now,
tough
like, locally.
now. It's very tough now, considering our last drop from the Bryanston home.
Yeah, that's the best we've
High
done
bar,
so far.
dude.
Yeah.
That's a high bar.
But I think I love that. I always love when we get to those.
Yeah.
Because inadvertently now we put in the position where we have to either now really creative with the next video, not either. We actually do, right? So, because sometimes you actually know, we know it for a fact. There's not too many of those types of properties that we'll come across. So the rest of the properties will probably be a level below. But then now, in order to make the video still as interesting as the last one, we have to up our game now with the things that we do.
100%. Can't stand still.
Exactly.
Oh, I thought you were saying we can. No stress. Well, it's a good enough place to call it. I'm more than happy with that. We'll leave them with a still image of your guys's face standing in front of a sick property. Yeah. Thank you everyone, for all 5 of you, for tuning in. Shout out. We're not going to do the clap. We're going to do this one.
The clap. I was.
Nice one.